Do, 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 do. Do, do, do. Oh, look at that. All right, let's see if the sound is good. Testing, testing, testing. Hey, Anson. So I assume that Entrails is a good sound. I can't remember if I remember I went through the paperback call book I have. Oh gosh, Frankenstein's messing with the wires around my work area. It's making things hard to move. I don't know. I just had the idea of like animating. It just came out of nowhere. Just had the idea of picking up the bride figure and stop motion animating Frankenstein singing "She's a Lady" with 3 brides in the background singing back up. I don't know. It just seemed funny to me. She's a lady. Whoa, whoa, whoa. She's a lady. Anyway, I'm just all over the place. Anyway, right now he's hanging out with Ted Lasso and Hellboy and stuff. Why is his boots not keeping? Oh, you know what? His boots are all dusty. There's a little bit of dust on there. Okay, that makes sense. All right. So I cannot recall. Sploosh. I can't recall if I showed this Joseph Clement call book. I actually don't think that I did. Mainly because I haven't gone through it as much as I want to since I got it. I got so many books all at once. This is the more recent Flesk Publications. They publish so many great art books. This is the more recent collection, and it has stuff that it's so much thicker than the other book. It has a lot of drawings that the other book doesn't have, including way at the back stuff that people almost never get to see, like the end papers. I love when they do that. Some actual photographs of the artwork. Like look at that color shift. Can't think that's got to be like UV radiation changing that color. Some unfinished sketches and stuff, pencil drawings, paintings. I've never seen a called painting before. Pretty amazing little stuff in the background. Like his color work was lost to me. That looks like very heavily influenced by Muka there. Same with that, like that kind of poster work. So they actually, I guess that's the entirety. This might be all the color work of calls that survived till today. Who knows how much he's done? But again, it's like if you want to see like one of the key players in why my work is so scribbly and messy, and this is the guy. This is blame this guy, or blame me for not being able to find this stuff incredibly addictive. I love this guy's work. And there's so much work in here that I'd never seen until I got this edition. It's just, I mean, oh my God. Oh. And a bit there. Maybe I can show the piece a little closer, move them around a bit. Yeah, it's just, now I think this one actually might be out of print. I think I paid more than cover price for it because I think it's out of print. So I bought it secondhand from a collector. A second printing would be amazing. Oh, these are so good. There's so many of these pieces. Again, never seen it. Like illustrated books, a whole bunch more roughs. It's just so much more of the process stuff. So you can see where he was thinking. You can see that when he makes the type of mistakes I'm used to making. It's really comforting to see like one of your biggest influences screw ups. When I was, I gotta say, seeing mistakes in the people you admire is possibly one of the weirdest growth plateaus you will ever hit as an artist. Like when I started seeing anatomical errors in Frank Frazetta's work, and there's going to be people who are going to freak out for my even suggesting that there's errors in Frazetta's work, but you know, there's lots of mistakes in Frazetta's work. And I think the first one I saw was in his Seven Romans cover for Epic Illustrated way back in the day. And I had noticed it before I did a tribute to it with a Transmetropolitan piece years ago. I'm Again, new Frazetta calendar I haven't put up yet. It's already getting beat up from just sitting in the studio funny. So I grabbed this Frazetta calendar for next year. I'm going to just get this up, way up. So this one. So it has, you know, they're getting kind of lazy. They're cropping the pieces a lot. Down, of course, when I grab a piece that doesn't have any of the screw ups. No. But in 7 Romans, my epic in a different room, so I can't grab that right now. Well, if you pull up 7 Romans, the lead Roman standing with his knee up on the rock, it's poorly placed. It's a well-drawn leg, but it's not in the right spot. And if you look at it and you realize that Roman should be falling over because he's off balance, you'll never not be able to see it. It's wow, look at this stuff. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I've never seen this piece before. Holy shit. Look at that. Oh my God, that's amazing. When I first got the book, I flipped through it super quickly, and I was like, "Oh my God, look at that!" But so yeah, okay, we're starting to get into the more classic pieces. It's just so good, so good. 2 versions of the same piece. Oh wow, look at it, jumping over the city. So amazing. Imagine if you did Conan illustration. So there's a project I want to do, and it's a little elaborate, and I don't know where I'm going to fit it in, but I really want to fit it in. What I want to do is I want to take, because all of Robert E. Howard's original Conan stories are in the public domain. Titan and the Howard estate probably doesn't want you to think about that too hard. But there's already been one company that's readapted all the Howard's Conan stories into European albums. What I would like to do is I would like to take the original Howard stories, the original texts, and do illustrated volumes of them, but at the level of illustrations that Bernie Wrightson did for Frankenstein. So illustrate like full page illustrations every couple of pages through the entirety of the stories. And I think Howard's work is visual enough to allow that. And I'm thinking I'd do like 1 or 2 stories per volume. So that would be 20, 30 illustrations per volume. It'd be a nice little hardcover book with an idea of collecting larger volumes the more as I get close to finishing all of them. And at the end of it all, having like fully illustrated Robert E. Howard volumes. I floated the idea to Titan, and they were kind of like, because they just don't want to spend money. But since it's, again, Robert E. Howard's stuff is in the public domain, Conan's in the public domain, I can illustrate the hell out of it. I can do the books myself. And the only thing that I hold to my own is, of course, the artwork. And that would allow me to have anyone, like if, let's say I illustrated all the Howard stories, all the Howard Conan stories eventually, and there's quite a lot of it. I think that's almost like the project I'd like to start in the near future, and finish up before I fall off my drawing chair and die. But I would like to actually have like at a landmark level where there's, okay, this sounds arrogant, but I think I would like try and do the work at a level that my illustrated editions would be kind of tied to Conan the way that Wrightson's tied to Frankenstein. Not to imply that I'm at a level of Wrightson, but it would be something I'd want to do. I'd do the best possible work I could do for all of them. So yeah. So this book here is just a treasure. I think I spent about 150 for this. I think when it came out, it was around 70. So I think I paid about twice of what the value is. Yeah, when it came out, it's the deluxe limited edition was 50, hardbound edition. So this version, when it first came out, was $40 US. So I think that made it about 60 Canadian, and I paid more than double that. And worth every penny of it. I just wish they would put a second. Let me double check. Maybe what if this was a second print? Oh my God, I might have accidentally bought a second print at an inflated price. Where's the English? Here we go. First printing. All right. Yeah, 2004. It's been 20 years. Yeah, it might be a little overdue for a new printing of this book. It might kickstart it, so that'd be good. So this is, oh, such a beautiful book. Oh yeah, here we go, 150. So that solidifies how much I paid for that incredibly beautiful book. Oh, comments. Hey, Stacy. Yeah, thank you. All right, you know what else I want to show you guys? Let's see, where did I put it? I dug it up earlier today. Oh, part of the reason I'm less than prepared today, it's kind of obvious. There's something I wanted to launch into this week, but I'm clearly not doing that. I had food poisoning this week, which really messed with my ability to get the work I was already planning to get done, but messed with the work that I wanted to get done specifically for this session. So I wanted this to be an inking session because I haven't done one of those for a while. But I also ended up stumbling across a bunch of books that are relevant to We Bring Only Death, which is going to be the point of the day. So it's like I have a ton of costume books covering all sorts of different. I just grabbed a handful. What's the other ones? Not here. Here's this one. Good one too. So I mean, it's good to have nice general costume. So it's like if I have my Vikings land somewhere, I can immediately have a good shot at emulating the type of clothing those people should wear that the Vikings are interacting with. So this is great resources for drawing comics like that. So I have I think I have 4 or 5 other costume books here in my studio. I don't want to dig up everything. That'd be a little much, especially since I still want to do some work. But these books, Osprey, I think they're almost entirely online now. I don't know. You'd go to a hobby shop and they'd have racks of Osprey books because they would have these fully illustrated guides. And I think it was a book publishing line that was entirely supported by miniature gamers. So what happened is because miniature gamers wanted to recreate these wars as accurately as possible in the miniatures and everything, they ended up having to come up with these guidebooks for what everything looked like. So so these are great little resources for artists. It shows a lot of the archaeological stuff, so the real stuff. It actually has lots of photographic evidence of what they found, and they go into the weaponry and the costumes, and they have some great illustrations. There's a few guys actually kind of jumped back and forth. Yeah, I want to say I think is this Angus McBride? Yeah, Angus McBride. Yeah, he's done a lot of work. I think he did a lot of work for films in maybe 2000 AD and stuff like that back in the day. And I think he did some work for Warhammer. But these beautiful illustrations. Look at them building ships. So you actually get, this is great. Okay, so I think I've mentioned before, my son has actually built, I bought like one of these expensive like wooden models of a Viking longship. So because it was really accurate. I mean, I could do it with this, but the fact I'm going to actually have a highly detailed replica wooden Viking longship that I can like turn around, hold in my hand, and turn around and look around when I'm visualizing where that camera is going to sit. And if I need to, if the perspective is really weird, I can hold it in place. I can like put it in a wire support, like I got all these braces here for cameras and stuff for drawing. I could put it in that and hold it at a certain angle and take a picture at a certain angle and even light box it if the perspective is too messed up. But this type of stuff, like even like, full well, seeing this beat up, obviously worn by a dead guy chainmail. There's going to be some dead guy in that chainmail in a comic book I draw. The little statuaries and stuff they had from the time. Just a great book. And on top of that, where did the other ones go? Because not only do I have that Viking book ready to go, That's so strange. We're all piled up together. That's a book you guys should know, but anyway, that's something I want to show. Huh. So I was going to put right in front of the camera my Osprey book on the actual longboat. But strange, something I literally had in my hand a few minutes ago is now invisible. I'm also doing other reading, considering it's. I've been reading stuff about Vikings my entire life, but I figure if you're going to sit down and you're going to work explicitly on a Viking project, it's good to do a little bit more research. So I got this book a couple of weeks ago. I've been reading it, and it's just a great book. Like if you really want to get into what the Vikings were like as an opponent and an enemy, and all the amazing things like the way they fought and everything. This is turning into such a good research project as well. And on top of that, considering I'm doing nothing but fantasy type stuff, I saw these books and I had to get them. It's 3 by the same author. I don't know if they're any good yet because I haven't had a chance to go through them, but I just thought they looked charming as hell. So the Old Norse Spell Book, Your Guide to Elder Futhark, Norse Folklore, Runes, Paganism, Divination, and Magic. It's very general, very generic type book. So much of the stuff is stuff I already know. The Old Norse Spell Book, Saga of Viking Warriors. So this is more about the mythology, I believe, and stuff like that. And this is a deeper dive into rune spells, magic. I don't know. I really don't know if these are going to be valuable research elements. But the way I look at it is if I find like 1 or 2 story bits from these books that can enrich a story that with information I didn't know, or a combination of bits of information I didn't know, that makes them worth it. So this is the process of me building up. The first story is already written, and I'm not dealing with a lot of explicit Norse culture. So that's more for the projects following up after. But in reading, especially reading Men of Terror, I realized I also found the pencils for the first cover I was working on, the one that was referencing Pile. And I was thinking, oh, that might be what I work on tonight. And I realized I like that cover, the Pile painting, and I like that image. But it's not doing what I think what's probably going to be the first cover and the primary online image for We Bring Only Death. I feel I have to do much more of a iconic Viking cover image. So the idea would be to do something that really establishes that this is about Vikings, but not in a nice way. That it's not just about a specific Viking, but also about Viking culture. And to my mind, I started thinking about some classic Frazetta compositions, like the Barbarian in particular. Because, I mean, the way he used the negative space surrounding the Barbarian, if you've seen it, and here it, oh, you know what? It was actually in this cover, so I think it's like March. Nope, it's Princess of Mars. Here we go. So we have Frazetta's the Barbarian here, and they've cropped off a lot of stuff here. But apart from the drawings in the mass of the pyramid of the composition, Frazetta painted it, and I think he did a lot of this after he got the painting back, because the original paperback doesn't look like this. But I mean, he's got some sort of demonic hooded figure here, some implied castle, some serpentine snake shape running through giant skull. The teeth emulate the shape of the building, so it implies that there's buildings going up into here. If it showed the entire painting, you would see more of the stuff going on back here. So what I'm thinking is, I want an iconic Viking figure, and then I want just yes, I want a skull. I definitely want a skull, because skulls imply death. But I think I also want to use imagery that really gets across the idea of Norse mythology. So that means Odin. So if I could theoretically I could imply Odin. I get the skull going. Showing up in camera. Good. Okay, let me push this up a bit here. So I get my skull working here. See if I can do like an interesting take on Odin. Something like that. I could do like some Futhark and runes and stuff like that. But basically have the helmet have the eye patch for Odin built into it, maybe. You could do some wings on his helmet too. I mean, I know that's a bit of a Thor thing, but I think Odin's always presented with the wings on his helmet more than Thor. I think Kirby stole that from. You know what? Actually, be kind of cool if there's a stylized eye painted on his helmet or carved into his helmet. That could be a thing. Yeah, but that type of imagery floating around the background allows me to do things. So it's like I could do skeletal Odin. I could do Odin with. I can even do a beard on a skeleton, just to imply that Odin's dead. Or I could just draw frickin' Odin. Odin's fun to draw. That, you know, probably do a long ship. Some Vikings on it. Get the Viking figure here in like the middle. Gotta have an axe. Some ravens. That'd be Hugin and Munin. And just standing on a massive pile of dead bodies. I mean, theoretically, I could do the complete Howard Frazetta thing and throw Viking female warrior like right in here. So there's two Vikings and it's not just one dude. So there's one story arc I want to do where the Vikings basically accept a job to go kill a god. A squad of Vikings do that. I just figured that'd be like the Wild Bunch as almost like a Nightmares D&D adventure, and at least one of those Viking warriors in that party are going to be a woman, and just don't fuck with me, woman. I mean, it's fiction, so I can go crazy. I can be as like strong as big as I want. So the ravens, this long ship. Yeah, I think I might do an actual Odin and then maybe Thor. I could actually just draw like just shapes, like Frazetta would sometimes do, just create shapes in there. Okay, so you know what? Right in here. So I have a real bullshit composition idea here. None of this stuff is necessarily going to stick there because this isn't actually even the shape of the cover itself. How much can I move this up? Let me pull this down again. Okay, so I have these ideas. Have I talked about this book? This is if you're worried about like I've encountered people have no idea how to fill space. Like when they're doing a composition, will draw a figure in the middle of an empty page. They don't know why that's not enough. Composition is entirely about shapes and color, how they interact. And this is the best book on analyzing space with shapes and color there is. So I find that Molly Bang's book is the best book on composition. And it's one that you can actually learn a lot just completely on your own. But I had used this essentially as a textbook back when I was teaching composition in college. So it's a great book. But yeah, so I have the elements to start with for, I think, for a pretty good, strong image. So what we do next then, what I do next is I have all of these pre-printed comic-sized layout pages. Let's see if we can grab some. Here we go. Here it is. And so this works just as well for interiors as it does for covers, because I mean it's all the same printing dimensions. And I got some Witchtober stuff I got to push over here. So what I now do is I take these layout sheets, and I start taking these elements and start drawing them into here to make sense for me as an artist. Here's my usual drawing board. That's also got some Witchtober stuff sitting on the board. Again, put it. You know, if you were thinking that I must have the least organized studio on the planet, today you would be right. I have been when I was actually planning to do some cleaning when I got sick, but then of course I got sick, which is a great way to justify just recovering and not cleaning. No, I'm not seeing it anywhere. That is so strange. I literally just had it in my hands before the stream started too. Yeah, that's what I get for moving everything around before a stream. I mean, so it's probably, you know what? It's probably right with the Viking Longship book. So if I find my art board, I'll find the Viking Longship book, or not. Nope. I'm not going to waste any more time on that. Just can't seem to find it. That sucks. All right. So I have no logo yet, which is if I come up with a good logo, I'll be doing it with my artwork in mind. If I end up reaching out for a friend to design something, because I got some really qualified designers, friends who design some amazing logos, I might have to redraw it to accommodate the new logo. But generally speaking, you want to take the top quarter to 1/3, and you don't have to leave that empty. Technically, you should if you don't want your logo. Like if you don't know what your logo is or what the trade dress is going to be on your book, like they might put like big thick letter. Like if Stephen King was writing, to put Stephen King above everything else because that's the most important thing for selling this. Then they put the title of the book, and then they'd probably put the adaptation writer, artist, and all that stuff here, and then suddenly you're almost like your cover's half the your cover art area is essentially half, depending on how much text you get. And I mean, We Bring Only Death feels like it should be like a really large logo. I mean, there's part of me that's playing around with the idea of what I did with the thumbnail for today, where it really just filled up the block. I could theoretically end up doing something like This is not font design at all. This is space usage. This is me thinking about how this would look in terms of shapes. Probably have to fiddle with it in Photoshop or Illustrator. So that could end up filling it like just one big solid chunk of text. And I would say like Richard Pace, because I'm arrogant enough to think that I should be credited on the cover of my work. So that could be like written and illustrated by Richard Pace. Maybe right underneath it, on my flatter. So that'd be with Juan Castro, and so let's say bring in a letter on board, because lettering I'm not very good and I'm very slow at it, and letterer. So I could do like that, do a nice hard break, and suddenly this would be my cover image area. And so that would be, this is how it would look like in the stands. And that's perfectly fine considering that this is going to be a crowd-funded project. As a crowd-funded project, you can do all sorts of design choices that would be disastrous for the retail environment. But on top of that, this may not be a bad choice for the retail. I mean, this will be legible across a room. We bring only death. You'll be able to read that. Comic shops. If this goes to a comic shop, there's going to be a book right there. All the art's going to be covered. So even if I had a little bit of art peeking out through here, this one quarter of the cover, that's all people are going to see. Most people in comic shops, they buy based on seeing the logo. So if I have my logo really big and really legible, really sharp type design, that's going to attract more attention than any artwork that might be peeking out above another comic book. Now, then the goal is, if once they pick it up, this art better be freaking amazing. But the thing of it is what I could do is I could end up doing like a really huge, essentially like a wraparound cover type image, and just have that like that level of detail and have that in here, and it would just look like a painting. So I could do that. This is again, these sessions like this are me thinking out loud. But so this, that actually, I kind of like that. The We Bring Only Death being like just massively big, and considering these are only going to exist as big books when they go out, just changing the color and then having a big, nice image like this feels kind of smart. It's a design choice. I think it's smart. And what I could also do is, if I want to put like little bars of space between, there's the in the Viking books, you've seen some of this, and also some of the other Viking books I haven't waved around yet, is I picked up some books on Viking art, so like how they drew and designed things. So if I have to draw some of the environments and knot work and all that stuff, I could do that type of patterning in the bars going through as I divide the space up. So it actually automatically have like a Viking feel to it. See if I can find what I'm thinking of in this book. I saw it in the Longship book, but I'm sure it'll be in here too. Yeah, like this type of stuff where they throw the runes around. I can and have the runes existing in shapes like this. I think this is the World Serpent. You've got Sweden and the Ulf. Oh, so this is a memory stone. So it's probably not the World Serpent. But that type of like where they just put the runes in there, I could do that. I could do some design element like that. I think would work. Yeah. You know what? Let's lean into that. Let's take the design elements I already talked about, and let's see if I can design a half-page composition based on those elements. Reading in landscape format as an image, standalone image landscape for the apart from the cell phones, but for web viewing, I mean, it's closer to square. So if I lose a little bit of crop in the sides on Instagram, I lose less than on the vertical type imagery. And every other, just sharing the whole image, it'll just work. I could literally, if I design the image well enough, I could drop this into the fuller, larger image, and then throw information across the bottom like in a traditional image. All right, cool. All right, so I definitely want my Viking here. We're going to be doing a triangular composition because it's centered. So I'm going to give him a fur cape or something. Might give him a shield. It's a sometimes a hard shape to design with, but if I got this furry cape running around here, it'll help me tie things together. Throw like in the rock, some rocks here, imply some water on the horizon. So I can actually do some like long ships, storm clouds. Can draw them like a couple of Viking ships here. And then the clouds would be the phantom shapes. So I could do the small Odin here. I can just fill the sky with skulls and stuff like that. Oh my gosh, I just do all that completely off camera. I'm so sorry about that. All right. Where's my lead here? I think this might be the last lead in this pencil. That's why I have one more pencil on hand. Okay, so that seems a little close to the top, but that's stuff I can shift around. Let's move the axe down a bit down here. You know what? I'm going to do a burning. Here we go. So there's going to be a burning raided village right here, like churches and stuff. So it's going to be all this smoke coming up past the Viking. I might have him as a berserk. I could literally have him have his shirt off, a little Conan-y. Give him 2 axes. That might be cool. There's lots of people dead. Yeah, I think that might work. So to draw this, see, normally this would be like the bottom half in 11 by 17 sheet. So that would be about that tall a drawing. But I think that's a bad idea. I don't want to draw it that small. I want to draw it big and then have it get even tighter as it shrinks down. So I'm going to probably, so this would be 10.5 inches by 16 inches is normally how much I draw my original art for covers like this. But since this is actually 10.5 by 8, more or less, what I can do is I can flip it sideways, right? So what I can figure out is like, how much can I expand that 8 to 10.5 inches? And that allows me to make the, now that's not much of a jump, but it allows me to draw the 10.5 inch size, that percentage much larger too. So it's still, if I could finish it on 11 by 17, it might be bigger, but I can go a little bit bigger than that in terms of like doing Blu-rays, or I can go significantly better if I'm using the light box like I've done in the past. So all right. You know, I actually used to, in my head, hey, Brendan, how you doing? Hey, Brendan, what's the percentage that 8.5 is of, sorry, 8 is of 10.5? Oops. God, math, sorry. It's also end of the day, and I'm just stupidly. Trying to think. Sorry, I just have to reply to this message. Huh. Oh, Nick retracted something. All right, repeat. Yeah, I'm just mentally, for some reason, right now. Normally, I could just right off the top of my head figure out the percentage I'm increasing 8 to 10.5. So I think it's 1 point. No, sorry. Jesus, it's like a quarter and something. Jesus, my brain is just. Is it 1.17? Nope. It's 1.2. No, I'm literally just guessing. I know there's a formula. Mentally, I cannot figure it out. 8.9, yeah. So that's the percentage of it. But I'm trying to figure what you multiply 8 inches by to get 10.5 inches. Okay, it's 1.25. Jesus, I can't believe it's like, wow, but it's not, because I wanted to go for 10.5, didn't I? Damn it. Oh my God, I'm having like a complete brain dead moment. 1.26. That was the thing that threw me off. All right, clear. 8 times 1.28. 10.24, almost there, clear. 8 times 1.29. Close enough, 1.29. So 1.29 clear. 1.29 times 10.5. So then the image I'd be drawing, this image would be now drawing. Nick, yeah. Well, lawyers usually can afford to pay mathematicians and accountants. Stacey, don't worry about it. I've finally figured out it's 1.29. It's actually 1.28 something. I'm just trying to simplify it because my brain's tired. So that would be 10.5 by 13.545. So that's essentially 11 by 14, um, which is not a bad size. But I can go a little bit. I can literally. So if I want to do the blue lines for my printer, here we go, Brendan. Thoughts on Musk twittering D&D? He's threatened you by Hasbro. I heard that. Seems like he just accelerate Hasbro's. Yes, he would. The latest thing I heard is Muskie wants to start his own game company and not have to. He figures he'd be less likely to go bankrupt starting his own company than buying Hasbro and all their terrible, terrible, terrible managers. All right. So now, if I'm bound to determine that my drawing and inking this should be at a size I can use my blue line printouts. So that means I can print up to just under 13 inches wide. So then I could take the narrowest end, so the 8-inch end. This must seem really, really weird, but I do this whenever I work on an odd size paper. So if I'm taking the 8 by 10.5, so now I want the 8 to jump up to, let's say, 12.5. All right, now that's also math. So let's see if I try like 1.5. Clear. That seems 8 times 1.5. 12.4. Wow. So five, 6, 4, 8. Clear. 8 times 1.58. Too much. So 1.56. So this is 1.5% now. So this is the size. This is the scale I'm used to. So now the 10.5 jumps up to 12.5 and clear. Then the 10.5 times 1.56 equals 16.38. Oh my God, look at that. All right, so this is the original art will be landscape format, and it's going to be 16.38 by 12 inches, 12 and a half inches. So that's how big this piece is going to be. Here we go. Oh, here we go. Considering what the world's revealed itself to be over the last 5 years, I am not surprised there are that many dumb people that would make Musk look smart. So I think Musk isn't smart. It's just that it's on a curve. Um, yeah, I think that's. Oh, what are we doing time? We're almost at 8. Huh. Now, did I lose anyone with like understanding like what I'm doing with all the stupid math over here? Okay, so I feel I should explain that. And let me put this down over here. So let me see if I can explain this in a way, because I think this is the type of resources I would like to have buried in my streams for people to go, oh, you explained that? Yes, I did. When I did my rebrand only desk trade dress design. All right. So normally I draw a cover and it fills this area here, right? And then this gets drawn on 11 by 17 paper. Okay. But after going through the thought process that I want to do this landscape format, right? So I'm going to be working on a piece of 13 by 17 paper. So I'm going to hand cut that. I got that. So instead of drawing the very small half here, I'm going to draw that half on a larger landscape piece of paper. So 7 by 11 by 17, it's going to be, so this will still be 17 inches, right? But this side is going to be 13. So this will end up being oversized artwork. And then it's going to stupidly reduce all the way down to roughly a quarter of its size. But it's going to tighten up all the line work in a bit. So if I put a color hold in any line work, it's just going to read as color, which is great. And since I'm drawing it so much bigger, I'm going to be able to do all sorts of detail in here that I wouldn't be able to get into an 11 by 17 cover. So I'm essentially, for all intents and purposes, for how I'm blowing this up, I'm drawing a 26 by 17 cover or 17 by 26 cover, but I'm only drawing half of it, if that makes sense. Is that good? Yeah, you know what I do now, Brendan? Anytime anyone from the right says woke, I mentally replace it with civil rights. Right. So it's like, oh, you're just worried about the woke. So no, yeah, I'm absolutely worried about civil rights. And I just mentally do the little shift on that. All right. So the next trick is for this is I want to, whatever I do, I do these like thumbnails like this, right? This is messy. None of the shapes are really making sense yet. I want to do another smallish, but not too as small as this size drawing. And then what I'll do is I'll scan it and I'll blow it up and I'll draw all the individual pieces on separate pieces of paper. And then I'll scan all those little pieces together, assemble it, and then print it out on the 13 by 17 bristle I cut for this. So the trick for me is to find a size where I can scale this 13 by 17 piece. So this is 11 by 14 bond right here. So what I could do is I could just draw. This is 11 by 14 here. Sorry, 14 by 17. I could grab a 14 by 17 pad and just draw 1 inch line off the side here, off the side of this pad. And I have the exact same dimensions, but it seems to be a little larger than I want to work. This seems to be a little bit more appropriate for like the scale and everything I work at. So what I might do, see here, hang on. So I could do it in centimeters. This is super lazy Canadian thinking, where it's like you see inches, you want to do it scaled down, draw it in centimeters. So an inch becomes a centimeter. So then that would become a 13 by 17 centimeter piece. And where's my ruler? Right now. So that would be 17 centimeters is not that wide. It's actually not that much bigger. I'm spelling out the whole process. It usually goes a lot quicker because I do a lot more unconscious thinking. So this is 13 and a half. So if I draw this bigger, it's really not getting that much bigger. And I got all this paper to play with. So if I did 1 inch equals 2 centimeters, now that's not much of a scale down, but 2 centimeters would suddenly become 26. So suddenly this is 26. And that fits on this paper quite nicely. So 26 centimeters by 34 centimeters. So that would be, does 26 fit in this? Barely. And 34 would also barely. So that would just fit in here. And yeah, let's try that. Let's see if that's big enough for me to draw. Let me just give me a nice parallel line to start with. Is this on the camera enough? Let me pull this up a bit. I think that's enough. All right, cool. So I'm going to do 34, but I want it to be centered. So I'm going to start with 2 centimeters here. It's 30, but it's actually 29. 29, 30. Will 34 fit? 34 doesn't really fit, does it? If I move it back 1 centimeter, let's do that. It's now 30. Barely fits, but let's go with it. For preliminary stuff, you don't really have to worry a huge amount of things like handling edge and stuff like that. It's not integral. And then this is 26. So if I just go up 1 centimeter from here, 26. All right, there we go. Something over here. Go longwise in the triangle, and that gives it just enough length for me to do the line here along the bottom. Yeah, I'm still really bummed I couldn't find my drawing board. It's so weird. Yeah, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to redraw this thumbnail this size, right? And that'll allow me to play around with all the elements I got in there and draw them reasonably well. They're now big enough for me to draw tiny little buildings burning, ships in the ocean, clouds and stuff like that, and the Viking dead bodies here on the ground reasonably well. See here, it's 8 o'clock already. Here we go. Just means nothing. It's amorphous term for things that people don't like. Be it right, you said. Yeah. It's the wonderful thing is with everyone leaving Twitter is the other sites have less tolerance for the type of stuff that made Twitter unreasonable. Bluesky is I would say the biggest benefit of Bluesky is the fact that they desperately do not want to be Twitter, and they're taking steps to avoid it. But that said, and I think this is probably the most important aspect of the whole thing is I don't think people are social media-ing the way they did when Twitter became big. I think social media, because of the greed aspect of it, I think social media had value before when social groups, like people working for civil rights, or creatives were using it as a platform where it's like there was a symbiotic relationship. I'm giving Instagram value. I hate to say it, I'm going to use the term. It's an ugly term. Artists and creators gave Instagram content that made their platform attractive. But what they've done is they've decided that the platform isn't a partnership. It's the platform is the tool for them to extract creativity from people without paying for it. Like all their half-assed attempts to make, like there's no way in hell someone who does work like I do could ever monetize on Instagram effectively. They don't like adult work. I'm on Patreon, $1 a month. In fact, actually, we're coming up, and I'm really excited for this. We're coming up in the 1 year of when I opened up $25 a month memberships towards paying off an 11x17 commission at the end of the year. So when those expire, I'm going to reopen those slots for next year, which is part of the reason why I haven't been pushing commissions as much as I should. But I should also say, before I just get too distracted, right now, because when I was like recovering from my food poisoning, I went for a little walk just to get fluids moving in my body in the proper way. And I decided, since I had gone to a grocery store in a week, I decided to go just specifically go to drop food off in the food bank. And when I went to drop, normally I buy 2 bags of stuff every week. Whenever I go to a grocery store, because normally I have my groceries delivered now too, so it's really weird. But so when I dropped off the 2 bags, it was like all that was in the bin, and we're like, this is Canadian Christmas era. This is from now on. This is when people are really desperately needing food. All that was in the bin was a can of soup and a 6-pack of applesauce. And I was like, shit, that's terrible. People are desperate. I mean, food banks, I mean, despite everyone saying the economy is great, food bank usage is still at an all-time high, which tells you exactly how bad the economy really is. So from this point on, in fact, I already sold a piece. From this point until New Year's, anything that sells out of my shop, and that includes new commissions, everything that goes out of my shop after, I am going to cover my own shipping fees and material fees, but everything beyond that, anything that sells in my shop from now till New Year's Day is going to be going to my local food banks. And so if you were looking to buy a little something sitting on my site, or you wanted to commission someone, for it's a little late, especially with the strike. I'm going to be having to ship some stuff via courier because of the postal strike up here. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing. I kind of, I got a little bit of money already for the food bank out of my own. I already do. Hellboy piece sold immediately. That's going to be going out to the food bank. Anything else we're doing now, and I'm going to be adding more pieces to the shop. I think I'm almost at my top number of items, and there's a bunch of sold items I got to delete. So I'll probably be updating the story, adding a bunch of covers and stuff. There's a whole bunch of Barbarella covers I can now add because they've all been shown online. I think I can do that with all the Johnny. Oh no, all the Johnny Quest. What am I thinking? All the Johnny Quest covers sold. So yeah, all I have left are Barbarella covers from the recent Dynamite Spada cover. Oh no, the Vampirella cover sold too. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to be doing. Enshittification of investors. Yeah, I know. As a culture, we're rapidly hitting the point where we have to radically redo our politics, radically do our economics, radically understand how we do our social services, radically assess how we elect our governments, radically assess how we do foreign policy, who we let to make decisions. I'm a firm believer that we have to start understanding that expertise matters. So if you elect an incredibly successful auto parts manufacturer to a position in government, there is no reason why someone whose expertise is running an auto parts business should be given, I don't know, human health services as a portfolio. I think that politicians should be allowed to make decisions that trigger emergencies, that allow experts to come in and tell us what we need to do, where the only thing the politicians can do is say no. So if we're in let's say another pandemic starts, which may very likely happen because of what's happening in the States right now. So if we hit another pandemic, what would trigger then? Oh, we have a pandemic. The government role is in recognizing that we're in the middle of a pandemic, at which point the experts whose job is in protecting humanity from pandemics would take over, and they would determine policy as we go through it. That's me. That's what I would do if I was a politician. But anyway, I think we're headed for a lot of changes soon. I didn't really want to get political tonight, but just all right. You know what? I don't think. What can I do? 20 minutes? Can I do much? I'm gonna rough out the main figure here, and then I'm going to call it a session. I think 15 minutes of like working on the main figure here is a good way to go. Yeah, cool. Now, on top of that, another thing I do, even though I'm drawing it this size, right? After I scan it, I might move pieces around. This is part of the benefit of drawing everything this size. So if I'm drawing the figure, I want the figure to be like within half an inch of the top there. And I want his legs going into the, see, I want him to be big enough to be impressive on the cover. Let's get that shoulder up here, that other shoulder down there. So it's going to be like that. That. Just crunching like that. He's already physically too big for this. But again, that doesn't matter as much. Now, it's turning his. My arms are too stiff there. Just check and see if anyone was commenting on anything. That leg's too spread here. Do I want them looking off there? Or do I think I want them looking at the viewer. Do I want to be looking down or up at him too? So if we're looking down at him, and he's on a cliff type edge here, and we got shore coming through here. So we got this happening here. So we have like the oceans, shore, Viking ships. Oh, you know, I think that's coming through here and comes through there. So that's foreleg standing in there. This is me just figuring out like the gesture and the scale of this figure, like how far out he's going to go. I think giving him 2 axes is kind of cool. Yeah, I think that I like the idea of like almost having him super dark, like black fur, black hair, just his eyes and his teeth showing out of like the blackness, black fur on his clothes. Cover him in blood and gore. Wrap up his arms in some armor. Like those big leather wrap belts. I'll dig up some like Norse reference soon. Adding the fur cape allows me to really push that triangle a bit more. Allows him to be more of a dominant shape within this too. Yeah, that's pretty bleak looking. That looks pretty savage. Thank you. Yeah, everything. I get to throw all that stuff in there. And I'm really excited for this to really just get like this big stormy thing here. The two axes, screaming, scary, dark face, implied violence, a whole bunch of dead bodies here. Yeah. So the goal is to have this penciled for you guys to watch me ink it next Sunday. How's that look? How's that sound for you guys? I'd like to. I really want to ink for you guys again. That's my favorite time streaming with you guys because it actually allows me to be a little bit more altogether there in my head. Is when I've done all the work with the penciling and I'm not trying to explain what I'm coming up with here. And it's just a process of like interpreting the lines I put down in pencil into lines that work as well in ink. Yeah. All right. So yeah. So next week we will have. I will finish. I have some other assignments to finish this week, but by next Sunday night I will have penciled this, transferred it to the 13 by 17 paper, which would be kind of big. I'm gonna have to hand cut a sheet of Strathmore I got hand on hand, but luckily that's why I have full size sheets of Strathmore on hand. Yeah. So in the interim, yeah. So if you're interested in getting some artwork and feeding the hungry this Christmas, I have my everything from my website is going to be going through that. If you're a Patreon supporter, I just realized I haven't updated the discount codes for a bit. You know what? I'm so busy. If any of my Patreon backers want to take advantage of the food bank thing, let me know and I'll go and do a discount code for my Patreon backers. It's usually 10%, which is really considering everything's going to be going to food banks. I can't afford more than 10% discount. But yeah, so if you want to support me directly, though, there's also $1 a month Patreon. I'm on Instagram, Richard Pace. I'm on Bluesky. I'm on Cara. I'm not on Twitter, thankfully. So those are all the places you can find me online. I post at least 3-4 pieces a week on all my socials. A lot of times they're classic pieces that aren't online anymore because I took everything down ahead of Meta scraping everything, and everything I post gets glazed and nightshaded. Oh yeah, I remember that. That was fun. Yeah, I actually this year, oh God, me and a bunch of friends did everything we could to try and put together um, an online series of drawing events, and we just couldn't get it started. We just couldn't get the traction for it. So, but yeah, I really enjoyed doing that live online event. I don't think I'd ever do it alone. I'd have to have at least one or two friends along for the ride. Um, but yeah, but doing that gave me the confidence and the understanding that I knew I really could do this stuff. So that's yeah, that Cyclops was really fun. I love drawing live for you guys. I love the interaction. There's part of me that wants to start doing this on Discord so I can actually chat with some people back and forth. I was thinking I would hold off to doing that until I got other artists who are really committed to being on the Sunday streams as well. Um, since that hasn't happened yet. Oh, my pens. Um, I got some other friends who are looking to do more of a series of like talks and draws, where there's one or two regular artists as part of the stream, and we always have one or two guests, and they're live drawing and talking events. And the entire point is that, I mean, it may be working on commission, maybe working on professional work, but then they become like more of a, you can hear artists talking about their work and artists talk to other artists about their work, which I think is a wonderful thing to hear. Well, not enough people hear it. So, all right. Well, you know what? Here we are. It's 8:19. I usually wrap. I try not to go much past an hour. Special events will go over an hour, like the Christmas stuff coming up. I plan to do like either a Christmas or a New Year's Day, just stream all day event. But yeah, all right. So next Sunday at 7 o'clock, you're going to see this bad boy get worked on. I may not be able to finish it inking it in one session. I might go long because it's going to be such a freaking massive piece. But at the very least, this figure is going to, I think, the hell out of this piece. All right, everybody. Thank you so very much for showing up, chatting with me. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already liked and subscribed. And looking forward to seeing you online and next week. Night, everybody.